I'm having fun anyway. That's a systemic design question. So let me put it this way. Let me take, because here's, this is, you really want to deal with climate change, and you really want to deal with growth. This is where the rubber hits the road. Down the line, over the next 30 years, as you build the political base for it, when the time is right. Big corporations have to grow. They must do that, otherwise Wall Street will kill them and they will be dead. It is not a matter of choice. It's not a matter of good guys and bad guys. If they don't produce their quarterly returns, they are dead. So, if you want to deal with growth, you must establish institutions that don't have to do that. And they are called public utilities. Socialism. There ain't no way out of that if you're interested in the growth problem. The guys who are onto this, you have some fun with this. I love this one. The founders of the Chicago School of Economics, the most conservative economists in American history, who cared deeply about a free enterprise, small business, competitive marketplace, Adam Smith style, knew that the large corporations was not that animal. They screwed up competition. They controlled it. And from a conservative, genuine free market perspective, the institution of the large corporation violated every principle of free market capitalism from that position. And the leaders of the Chicago School of Economics, Milton Friedman's great teachers, Henry C. Simon, amongst others, the founder of the school, were honest, serious conservatives. I respect serious conservatives. I don't respect conservative hacks. I respect serious conservatives, both the kind who are interested in community and also the free market guys, who were honest about it. They looked at the corporation, they said, you try to regulate them, they'll capture the regulators. One conservative economist got a Nobel Prize for that. You try to break them up, the big fish will eat the little fish. They will be back at the trough. The current nostrum about the big banks is we'll break them up. I'm for that. They will be back, the big fish will eat the little fish, they'll be right back again in power structure. So that is not a solution, that's a game. They said, from a conservative perspective, some of them, if you can't break, if they screw up free market, and if you can't regulate them, if you can't break them up, you must socialize them. Conservative economists with genuine conservative principles understood this logic of power. I come out of liberalism. Liberals always want to regulate them. And they always say, well, I know that guy, they take over the regulators, but we better do it. Conservatives were more hip on this, and they were willing to take on socialism because they were honest people. Anyway, I thought that one, if you really want to play with the growth problem that he raised, you want to play with climate change, it's the same problem. They must reduce costs. They've got to do it, or Wall Street will kill them. And that means they've got to pollute, they've got to do all those things and control the power game as best they can. It's really nasty stuff if you really face the logic of power in these institutions, which I encourage you to do. Read my book, you know. All right, there was a couple more questions. How many? Two more, and then we're out?
Last question.
Okay, last question.
It's up to you if you want to.
Two, I don't see any young people. Where are you guys? I only got a couple young women. You see, the women are gifted. I would say anybody younger than me out there who wants to ask a question, come on, don't be shy. We'll tell you about that later. Older than I look. So no student questions? It's your conference. You bought all this nonsense without questioning it? But just swallowed it down?
We're switching it around.
Okay, that's good. Switch it around, that's good.
I would add one point, and
Okay.
that's related to the last question.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to abandoning the growth model that's inherent in capitalism as a whole?
Well, I think that if you're serious about climate change, for instance, growth, resource limits on the planet, so forth, you must reach a non-growth pattern at some point. That's what I think. And that means at some point you've got to go after these big guys. Now that's a very hard thing to do. But by the way, here's another. I'm having fun with you guys, but anyway. Let me put it this way about the growth question, because people are worried about growth. We need to grow because we need to grow. As an economist, I tell you forthright that we have no economic problems whatsoever. Now, what does that mean? I mean that if you divided in this terrible economy, if you divided the GDP equally among families of four today, it's just under $200,000 for every single family of four today. We don't have an economic problem. We have a political problem managing the richest economy in the history of the world. but not an economic problem. Don't let them kid you. So, that's in response to the growth question. Maybe you're not, but if you want to do with growth, you're going to have to deal with the profit question. Sir?
Yeah, I'm wondering the model of tribal and American Indians and how they got into the, essentially the same thing, organizing and got into the casino business, of course, real big. Then some of the smart ones, forward thinking, realized, oh, that's going to be trouble. So you have like the Seminole tribe that bought Hard Rock, you know, casinos, hotels, and whatnot. And then you also see some interesting political things. Like a couple of their casinos are in trouble up north, and all the bondholders are out because since they're their own sovereign nations, there's no foreclosure laws. So people can't go in and seize the asset when things went wrong. So I'm just wondering, have you looked at that as a model too, to kind of look at some of the things that worker cooperatives can do?
No. We're actually beginning to work on that problem, but we don't know. I don't know enough to give you any kind of serious answer. I wish I did. But I know the problem. It's emerging in different ways. Not only casinos. There are community-owned, tribal-owned enterprises of various kinds around the country where you can get the same phenomenon. I don't have an answer. One last question, please.
So the third
Unless there's anybody swishing who wants to talk. Sure.
well, the third we talked about, you mentioned climate change and getting away from the growth model. I've been involved in something called transition town. We also worry about peak oil and the ending of various, easy to get to resources. Could that be factored into your model? I mean, would the growth be self-limiting without a big crash?
Well, you can manage if the politics can be developed with an institutional base for different politics, you can manage the planning problem. Because you can manage the incentive structures, you can manage, but that requires a different politics, which requires a different institutional base. So, yes, I think so. Who knows? That's their problem, these young people. We're just involved in helping kind of, we get to kick it off, we're having a good time. All right, thank you very much. Enjoy.